Hi, I'm Mary LaCourciere, and I'm standing in front of the Nantucket Historical Association's flagship property, the Whaling Museum. So today we're going to talk to Maurice Gibbs, who is upstairs waiting for us inside the Decorative Arts Gallery, and we're going to talk about the Nantucket Lightship Basket Museum, their collections, and especially the Jose Reyes Studio Workshop, which is installed in the Decorative Arts Gallery. So come on inside and let's go take a look. I'm here with Maurice Gibbs. Thank you, Maurice, for joining us today. We're sitting here in front of the Reyes installation at the Whaling Museum, which is his shop as it was in his studio here on Nantucket, and we're going to talk about that. But I also want to know about your connection, and tell us about the Lightship Basket and how that came to be.
Well, starting in with a quick answer to my connection is Jose was my father-in-law. Now, the lightship baskets, of course, go back to the early days of the lightships. And the lightships were placed at strategic points around the island and the Cape, and in fact, all over the world. And the Nantucket lightship in mid-1800s was put south of Sconset at the outer end of the shoals out there. And it was from that ship out there that we ultimately saw the baskets develop.
So were the people, the keepers who were stationed on the ships, is this what they did for passing the time?
And of course you had hours and hours and hours of boredom. They would while away their time making the baskets, bring them ashore and sell them, and they became market baskets for the women. Generally the women of their families, but also some of them were sold commercially.
So tell us about the Friendship Basket.
It was a basket now that had a top.
Okay.
And it had generally an ebony top or a cherry wood top and a carved whale. And Jose was sensitive to the fact that he didn't really want to call it the same thing as the lightship baskets because they had changed the design. And so he came up with the idea, we'll call it a friendship basket.
Even today, you see the purses and you see how dark they are.
Yes.
And you can sort of almost age them by that.
That's right. That's right. Over in your case there, you've got some that you can tell right away there. They're very old. They would be covered with a shellac, and over the years, the sun just simply darkened the basket. Yeah. His shop was really an appendage off of his garage at 16 York Street, and that building is still there. And he built it himself after the war when they came to Nantucket. And people were coming and going down that driveway at all hours looking to catch Jose. Yeah.
Well, my father, he had ordered a basket and it took 3 years to get it from him.
Well, Jose was not one to maintain orderly records. And you sort of got on a list, but you never really knew where you were. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. And the carving on the top was done by Nancy Chase, who's also a very local ivory carver here.
Yes, really, over the years, Jose essentially did three different people. Charlie Sale began, and then he moved to Aletha Macy. And then finally, Nancy was working and had quite a bit of seniority at the Pacific Bank, but used to do carvings on the side. And Jose advanced her orders for 100 whales.
Wow.
And with that, she resigned from the bank and went into the ivory business, and of course she never looked back. The other thing is the close ties that Jose had with Michie Ray. Michie Ray, being a descendant of one of the captains of the lightship, was a basket maker on the side, and took Jose and the family under his wing, so to speak, when they first arrived here after World War II. And most of the molds that you see were originally Michie's molds, which Jose were left to Jose over the years when Michie finally passed on. So the basic molds that are used come right down from those original lightships.
Reyes basket is really the quintessential Nantucket basket. So what is it that makes his baskets stand out, and why is it so coveted, and especially at an auction or other venues?
Well, I think there are really two things there. One is the quality of his baskets, especially the early years, were always top notch.
Mm-hmm.
And he made so many of them.
Yeah.
We tried to estimate how many he made. We generally put the figure at around 6,000.
Wow. Right.
He was a very fast weaver. He could weave the basket essentially in about 10 hours of weaving.
Wow.
Which I don't think anybody else could do.
Right.
And he had an eye about it. For example, his diamond-shaped baskets were woven without a mold.
Mm-hmm. I get the sense that he paved the way for all the basket makers that come to mind today who have taken this art form to many new and exciting places. Thank you, Maurice.
Okay.
Please come to the Whaling Museum to see this incredible installation here in the Scrimshaw Decorative Arts Gallery. It's really quite a sight, and it will give you an appreciation for the basket tradition, the ivory that was included, and just all of the parts, which are as interesting as the finished product. So thank you so much. Hi, we're here with Carl and Susan Otteson in their shop, and it's really a treasure trove of so many things. It's a basket shop, but property is overlooking Nantucket Harbor. So Carl, I understand that your family's been here for some years, so tell us a little bit about how long they've had it and possibly like how big it is and where we are.
We're on Orange Street at the Rotary.
Yep.
And this property has been in my mother's side of the family for well over 100 years.
So how much property was the original parcel?
Probably 60, 70 acres maybe.
Uh-huh.
So it was farmed first by my great-grandfather and then my grandfather and my dad.
I mean, it's such an incredible setting in which to create anything. But what you guys have created in this shop is amazing. So there's a long history here. There's a Chase connection because you are a Chase. So Susan, tell us about, the two of you actually, tell us about how you even got into the basket making business or where that all began.
Well, I started with my sister's shop, Nancy Chase, and Eddie Birchall was working there at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And in '68, when he moved to his own garage, he wanted to set up his own shop and stuff. I went to help him out, and after that he quit. And '68 I started doing it myself. A lot of trial and error, but and of course Nancy knew a lot, and Jose Reyes was around at that time, so he was helpful. And
well, Nancy was the premier
Ivory
ivory
carver.
producer for all the basket makers.
She was a carver,
Right.
correct? And
Scrimshander.
Scrimshander, okay.
We did, for the customers, we say carving is three-dimensional, so it's a carving. They say all the business of working with ivory is scrimshaw. So we have to say a carving or
For the novice,
or the etching on
for the
ivory.
novice working in ivory is scrimshaw.
Okay.
But for professionals, it's sort of like if you do scrim, you're doing the etching, and that's the artwork too. And then carving is 3D.
What are you guys known for in your shop? I mean, I've known you for many years, but why don't you tell everybody what it is that you guys are
Well,
known for? What do people
basically,
come to
we
you
kind
for?
of do the baskets of the original style, like Jose Reyes. I mean, basically cane stays and just a simple or weave. And some of the baskets today are getting very small and tiny weave. And
We never graduated to microwave.
No, microwave.
It's not our style. We do our own version
Right.
of a traditional style and craft that has been developed by all the basket makers of the past.
Right.
Our
Right.
baskets
Yeah.
are our signature, basically. This is a 6-inch diamond-shaped basket with my sister Nancy Chase carving on there. And this one here is a 7-inch creel-shaped basket, flat on the back. And that has a combination of Nancy Chase, the feather, and my niece Leanne Paparley scrimshaw on it. And then we make a round one, and then an oval.
So I'm looking over here and I see this ginormous basket. This is so incredibly cool. Where did that come from? I mean, it's such a departure from the other things I see in your shop.
Well, that is a mold that Carl's dad made in 1940, and it was an open basket, bushel basket basically, and we decided to put a cover on it, make it a picnic basket, and well, one thing led to another. So we have a giant basket. There's 100 hours in it, basically.
Holy cow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
This is amazing. I see this hanging up here. So tell us about this particular basket.
Sue's mother had a similar basket to this with a stationary handle, which is an old-fashioned idea. And
The wooden
we both-
handle goes all the way down through.
yeah, it's woven in.
It's woven in.
Oh,
and
yeah.
This
makes
is
a basket.
a single piece of wood.
Okay.
So we both liked the idea of that and the strength of it and integrity. So I made it a little bit bigger on an oval mold. And this is a basket we've made probably 30 of. And takes a while.
And this is some
We just-
scrimshaw?
We put scrimshaw teardrops on the side with Leanne Scrimshaw.
So Leanne Papali who's
Is my niece,
yes,
by the way.
all in the family. So what's your favorite thing to do? Or actually, let me ask you this.
Oh,
What
Lord.
What's still coming into the shop these days? I know you guys are retiring.
Yeah, we still get a few repair. You know, we do a lot of that, and a lot of restoration work on the 1800 baskets that come in. And
We have a lot of fun restoring some of the 19th century baskets.
Right.
The old timers were really crafty in
Yeah.
ways that modern basket makers don't even have a clue.
Yeah. So people are using the baskets more for what?
Decorative.
decorative.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so tell us something that nobody knows about you guys or the craft or your career. I don't know. I will tell you one thing. I did see a photo over here with Nancy Reagan carrying a Nantucket purse.
We made
Yes.
that basket.
So there you go. That's pretty amazing. Well, thank you guys so much for letting us come and explore your beautiful property and see your shop. It's you guys are a treasure to the island, and we really appreciate all that you've given to the craft and really holding it in high esteem. So
Well,
Thank
thanks.
you.
Thank you.
I'm here today with Tim Parsons, who has a real unique basket shop here on Nantucket, and I wanted to talk to you, Tim, about how you came to your basket making. Tell us a little bit about yourself, because he's got a different approach than the other basket makers that we've been talking to. So
Yes, I have a BFA from Edinburgh University in Pennsylvania. And as a kid, I was always a hobby, kind of planes, cars, built tons of models and stuff like that. So I always liked working with my hands, doing small things like
Nice.
that. And it happened my second winter here. The previous summer, I'd worked with John Sylvia, whose father owned the Four Winds Craft Guild. John and I worked together doing irrigation of all things in the summer, and I ran into his mom on the steamship. And she's like, "So Tim, what are you doing with yourself over the winter?" I'm like, "I don't know, trying to think of good Christmas gift ideas that aren't expensive." And she's like, "You were an art major, weren't you?" And I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "You should have Jennifer show you how to do the baskets." And I'm like, "You mean those stupid purse things that women carry around?" Like, I don't know that I want to. She's like, "No, just have her show you." She showed me the 2 books that have instruction. So I went and got those, and she just handed me a box of materials. She didn't tell me anything. She's just
Wow.
like, "Oh, here's the stuff."
yeah,
So of course it's like, okay, I can figure this out.
Yeah.
It's just, it's like making a model. So I whipped up some baskets and took them to her, and she's like, "Wow, Tim, nice. We'll take 5 of those and 6 of those, and can you make a little basket like that big?"
wow.
I'm like, "Yeah, sure, I could figure that out." And so I spent the winter teaching myself how to make everything. Bought a little
So when you say make everything, what are you talking about?
handles, bases,
Okay.
rims, molds.
So you made all the parts as well.
Exactly.
Okay.
They bought every single thing I could make, and they came up with little tweaks to make my stuff look different than everybody else's down at the Four Winds. I started doing turned wooden tops for them, which everyone liked
yeah.
a lot. And that goes back to my art training in college. I was a potter for a period of time. And so when I started working on the lathe, I realized the lathe is very much like a pottery wheel turned on its side. And the baskets have similar form attributes
Right.
to ceramic ware. So I was like, oh, okay, it kind of kicked off like, oh my God, it's even more fun because it kind of allows me to go back to what I really like doing in
Right.
college. Yeah, so I wove for the Four Winds for almost 3 years. And then it just slowly evolved into I realized I had so much parts and supplies. It's like, I knew there was only one person selling them on the island, and and everyone will come to me for rims and handles. And of course, then someone comes to you and says, I'm having trouble putting this rim on. Can you help me? Like,
Right.
okay, yeah, come on over. And then my sister's in town. Could you show her how the basket goes together?
Right.
And then it kind of slowly morphed into me having people come by
Right,
and
so
teach.
you morphed into teaching, but your style of teaching is not your typical class where everyone's making the same thing. So it seems to me that everybody who comes here makes whatever they want.
It's very customer driven. I got into teaching people how to make bracelets because a couple customers asked me to do them, and and so it's like, okay, that exploded for a while. But that's the joy of it too, is coming up with new things, new and
Right.
different things that people have never seen before, but they're still traditional. In fact, one of the things when people come and say, "Oh, I want to make a really traditional basket," my joke reply is often, "Oh, so you want to experiment?"
Yeah.
Because guys back in the light chip era used to experiment a lot.
Yeah.
So everything's old new is new again.
It's
kind of
no
a thing.
again, and you're being inspired from the past, so that's really
Exactly.
cool.
Yeah. One of the other things too I noticed no one paid much attention to was exotic hardwoods. I kind of made that a specialty of mine. Even domestic exotic hardwoods like tiger maple, quilted maple, stuff like that people aren't used to seeing. And it's like, why not make it beautiful in that way,
Right.
instead of using plain woods like a lot of people do. But the materials are fun to experiment with as well. Traditionally, we use rattan.
Right.
But
So let's talk about rattan, because we haven't talked about that. So what is the material that we're actually using, and what is it? Where is it coming from?
yes, it's a unique thing in terms of crafts, because most baskets around the world are made with stuff that you can gather indigenously.
Right.
Native Americans, this part of the country, used pine needles to make pine needle baskets.
Right.
People use rushes or grasses that are locally available. European people knew how to cut trees down and beat on them with a stick and separate them and weave together a splint basket,
Right.
which has been done since the dawn of time.
Right.
So it's something you can gather. Well, Nantucket baskets are made from something that comes from halfway around the world that was brought here by the whalers.
So let's talk about the rattan.
Yes, so in the 1820s, the whalers had pretty much fished out the Atlantic Ocean. And they decided, like, okay, we're going to go around Cape Horn, one of the most dangerous places on Earth, to go fish in the Pacific. And while they were there, they brought this material back with them, rattan. And it's two materials come from rattan. It's a vine, unlike bamboo, which is a tree. You can see the center of the vine is solid, unlike bamboo, which is hollow. And two materials come from rattan, cane and reed. Cane is the outside bark, and it's stripped off, and these are the sizes that we use primarily for weaving. Sometimes we use wider cane, like you see here,
Right.
for stave material on certain baskets. But we use reed for the stave material oftentimes, and it's often used for rims as well.
Okay.
People often will like, oh, I want to make a basket out of oak because that's traditional. It's like, do you think there were oak trees here in the 1820s? Now, people had cut all the trees down by 1750 or something.
Yeah.
So, but there were 150 coopers here making barrels for whale oil.
Okay. And what were they using?
You use green oak. That's what
Oh,
everybody
okay.
uses
Okay.
for wine casks or
Right.
So it was an easy thing to go down to the cooper, get some green lumber
I see.
for your staves, your handle, and your rim. Of course, you don't want to use green lumber for the base of the basket,
Right.
Because it would warp.
Right.
Plus, oak's not that much of a wow wood, so that's where the oak came in. So it's like, you know
So-
what? I can get walnut or cherry or ebony.
Right.
And so why not just? They used oak because that's what they could get. It's like, I can get other things, and so why not make a basket with a different material
Correct.
that looks nicer?
So whaling really is a big part of the beginning of basket making here.
If it wasn't for the whalers, this wouldn't exist.
That's
And-
incredible.
It
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. Nobody knows that, I think.
I know, and oftentimes the lightship people get credit for this, and which is not the case. By the time the lightships were stationed in and around Nantucket, which is in the late 1850s, early 1860s, the baskets were already a thing.
Yeah.
The form had taken shape, and so, but they were stationed on the ship for 3 months at a time. So they're like, well, might as well take a bunch of basket stuff with us, and
Right.
until
Right.
the government found out they were doing that because they were working for the government. Coast Guard. It's like,
Oops.
well, you're burning the candle at both ends here. It's not really cool.
Yeah.
But the lightship captains had a lot of time on their hands, and they are credited with moving it forward and making it more of a high craft
Right.
than just something you'd put your apples in when you go to
Right.
the market.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Tim, thank you so much. I mean, your
Sure.
shop is incredible. You clearly make everything, and people come here and they can make any kind of basket that they want, and they start out with something and then they grow and they're able to come to shop continually to learn and hone their craft as well. So thank you so much for talking to us today.
My pleasure.
Hi, we're here today at Nat Plank's shop on Nantucket, and it's amazing. His specialty is miniature baskets, to the point, we're talking jewelry miniature, so they're really amazing. We're gonna check out his process. Nap, you home?
Hello.
Oh,
Welcome.
okay, thank you. Let's go inside and check out what
Come
you've
on.
got. Okay, Nap, so I've known you for a long time, but I've never been to your shop, and this is amazing. So what we want to talk to you today, though, is the mini that you've really mastered. So I am fascinated. I mean, I've seen them before, but your minis they're like jewelry, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so not only are you making, it's not so much the smalls that a lot of people make, it's mini. So look at this. That's actually a mold. Look at that. Okay? And there's a little place, just like a big mold. There it is. And that's what Nap weaves on. So tell me how you went down the road of the minis and your process.
Well, for a while, between Alan and I, we had another guy in the shop for a little while, and
So Alan Reed, talking about
he
Alan
started
Reed. Yep.
making one this big. That's Dwayne Duggan. Do you know Dwayne?
I don't.
His dad was a stack pole, took care of the light ship that used to be in the harbor here,
Wow.
and actually made a couple baskets at least a couple on the light ship. But Dwayne was making one about this big, probably comparable to what they call a one egg basket now. And that was really when I first noticed it, or I've always liked little things anyway. Miniatures of almost anything. I probably played a lot more with little matchbox cars in my youth than I did play baseball, football, any of that. I love the little cars.
Yep.
So then I think I started making one just a bit smaller not long after that. That fall, we put some of our work for Stroll, or late fall, in a shop downtown. And we had a bunch of stuff. The only thing that sold was my second miniature I'd made. And it was, once again, probably an inch and a half. And then I'm not quite sure why I got smaller. I think,
Well, why
like I
not?
said, I like little things.
Right.
Why not?
So we know a little bit about basket making. Why don't you talk a little bit about how the materials you're using for this, because it's clearly something else.
Well,
Or
usually
adjusted.
cane staves. With a real teeny one like this, I'd actually take
Wow, look
the
at that.
smallest existing cane and cut it.
See that? Unbelievable. So you're cutting your cane.
Yeah, I'd actually, by eye,
Okay.
cut it smaller than it came from the people. Now, nowadays they make fairly small cane. That's a bit more than a millimeter. Yep.
But
and
you
then,
always made your cane in the beginning.
yeah.
Or like made it to size.
And then for shaping it, I cut it carefully with an X-Acto. That's got a bit of a point on it.
So,
And then after that, I used to use glue sandpaper to a stick, and then I thought, well, somebody does that already, so I'll just buy these. I use that to point it up and get the shape more correct and more into a curve instead of a straight triangle.
so time-wise, would you say this takes the same as a large basket?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Sometimes a lot more.
A lot more. Yeah. How much time are we talking for that?
Probably 15 to 20 hours
Okay.
for a
Yeah.
simple one like this.
How long have you been doing this?
Well, I've been making baskets since, I believe, probably 83 is when I made my first one.
Okay. And what's the smallest one you've made?
That's the smallest. Probably the smallest. It's, about the scale of the little teeny one.
So you're making your own molds, obviously. You make all your
Yeah.
parts, all your molds.
Yep.
So what is that, like a half an inch,
Yeah.
if that? I just think they're lovely. And I see people around the island with them as necklaces. It's quite the thing.
I've had actually I had one woman come in and say, I wish, I want an oval, because I had only made rounds and about this size as necklaces. So eventually I made the oval about this big. And the first lady was just really lovely person. But I know for a fact, she told me she was afraid to fly. So she was sitting on an airplane on one of the little 402s to go from Nantucket to Hyannis. She came into the shop and told me this rude woman was tapping me on the shoulder and saying, "Where did you get that? Where did you get that? Where did you get that?" About 2 weeks later, the same woman, who was not actually very rude, but came in and said, "This snobby woman wouldn't tell me." This other woman was more enthused, I think, than rude. And I think the woman, Joan, was sitting there with white knuckles going, "Okay, we're about to take off." Okay, and this woman's like, "How about your jewelry?" But those were the first two of the oval that sold.
Oh, that's amazing. Just like Reyes had his thing and put it on the map, this is on the map
a
with you.
niche, right?
Yeah, this is your thing, and it's really a treasure for a lot of people on Nantucket. So thank you so much. Hi, today we are in Nantucket on Center Street in Michael Viano's shop. And he is the scrimshander, and he is actually the last scrimshaw shop in Nantucket, as well as I think nationwide, or you said there was a few others around.
There's one in Newport, Rhode Island.
Newport, Rhode Island. So
That's it.
Tell us how you got started, how you even got into this
I came here in
incredible craft.
summer of 1968 as a 13-year-old. And my parents rented a house, and back in those days you can go up to the Seven Seas and they had barrels full of whale's teeth for 50 cents to $1 each.
Wow.
And my brother Larry, who had started working there then, but he eventually did the scrimshaw at the Seven Seas.
Okay.
The two of us learned that summer. We bought some kits, and we were bored teenagers, and my mother just said, "Get out of my hair, here's a couple scrimshaw kits, go do it."
Right.
And we were both artistic, so we both started, and before we knew it, Larry was set up in the back of the Seven Seas in 1971.
Wow.
And I followed 2 years later here at 38 Center Street, where I am now, 47 years later.
And what are the things that you like to do best that you make? So many, I know.
I've made 30 of those.
And you are pointing at
The jawbone.
Jawbone, so
Sperm whale
it's-
lower jawbone. My wife Barbara and my two daughters, who are now 31 and 29, and my two Dalmatians that I had in 1999 when I did this piece. And that's the 18th jawbone that I did. I've done 30 of them.
I see a lot of things around here that actually are in the NHA collection as well. So we have some Swifts. We have a lot of
Ship models and
different
Swifts.
pictorial things on
And
teeth.
some antique pieces.
Okay.
I do a lot of, as far as basket tops.
Okay.
Like this one.
Oh, it's
It's woolly
beautiful.
mammoth ivory
Yeah.
that I dug up myself in 1993 up in Alaska.
Wow.
Me and my brother pulled this tusk out of the ground,
Yeah.
and
So
that's mammoth.
that's beautiful. But all the pieces that you do are on old.
Right.
old
This is fossil
bone.
mammoth. This is antique whale tooth here.
Yep. So I saw in the back you do a lot of commissions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Michael's got a little shop right in the store, so you can come in and you can actually see.
You can watch me work.
You can watch him work. It's pretty amazing, and it's so meticulous what you do. But you do a lot of commissions, and he's working on a game. So talk about that game that you're
Oh,
working on.
I've been working on this mahjong set for
Yeah.
3 or 4 years.
Wow.
188 tiles.
Holy cow! So you can actually, people can come in and they can commission you to do whatever.
No more
they can
mahjong sets. I'm done with mahjong.
But what other kind of commissions do you do for people? Well, I see you're also working on the Anglers Club, which is a local fishing
Yeah,
club.
I do their trophies.
Yeah.
And takes up most of my time. I've
Yeah.
got one on the desk right now that's
And what other kind of commissions have you done that are really memorable?
I do people's dogs sometimes,
Yeah.
or their sailboat, or their home.
Yeah. Yeah. So you just
No portraits, no kids. I don't do that. I know my limits.
Yep.
I do a lot
For-
of teeth, sperm whale teeth.
Okay. It's almost a lost art, but not really because it
Well-
still exists. And I just want you to know I dress appropriately today because I'm wearing my Scrimshaw inspired shoes.
Okay.
So there you go.
Thank you, Mary.
All right, well, thank you, Michael, for
right.
joining us today. It's fascinating, and please come visit him when you're in Nantucket. He is here year-round, and he is open every day.
Good morning. I'm Daryl Westbrook, the former president of the Nantucket Lightship Basket Museum, and we're delighted to be part of the merger with the NHA, Nantucket Historical Association, and we're here at the Hadwin House this morning, and we'd like to take you inside to show you part of our exhibit.
I'm here with Peggy Kaufman at the exhibit of the Nantucket Basket Museum in the Hadwin House, which is a Nantucket Historic Association property. But Peggy is going to talk to us. She's been involved with the museum since the beginning. Since the beginning. So tell us how it all started.
Well, right after the NHA had their basket exhibit,
Which was?
I would say probably 25 years ago,
Okay, yeah.
a group of citizens and basket makers
Yeah.
got together and thought, with the interest that this has generated,
Mhm.
wouldn't it be wonderful if we had our own museum?
Mhm.
So, 21 years ago, Raphael Osona got a group of us together. We bought the property
Mhm.
on Union Street, and that's how it all got started. But what's interesting is that it's all come full cycle.
Meaning?
That it started out with an idea from the NHA,
Oh.
and now we've come right back years later,
Wow.
and the more modern lightship baskets have taken on a whole new look. And they've gone from being handbags, essentially,
Mhm.
into jewelry, cradles, mirrors,
Mhm.
anything that you can do with cane. So it's just growing.
I'm standing here with Kathleen Myers, who is a curator of this incredible exhibit with the Historical Association, the Basket Museum. But let's start here, Kathleen. I want to talk about what we're standing in front of right now.
All right, the case that we're standing in front of are all baskets that were made on the lightships
Mhm.
that were stationed off of Nantucket Island.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the 1800s,
Mhm.
1850 to 1900 or so era.
Okay, so Kathleen, tell me about the whaling tradition and the basket making and how that led to the lightships, the guys making baskets on the lightships.
Well, the early history is a little unknown, but we do know this. Most of the men who manned the lightships off Nantucket were whalers first.
Yeah.
And then after their whaling career, they took jobs on the lightship
Mm-hmm.
and started making baskets to while away their time.
Yeah, so, and you said earlier to me something about them not being allowed to weave any longer on the lightships.
Right. In 1903, the Life-Saving Service issued an order that said they could no longer weave on the lightships because they were moonlighting.
So we're in one of the main galleries here in the Hadwin House on the second floor, and we're standing now in front of a collection of a single person, right? So talk about this. This is incredible.
Right. This is a collection of a single person. It's actually only 1/3 of her collection,
Wow.
but she's been collecting miniature baskets, lightship baskets, for over 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes to each basket maker that she knows and says, "Will you please make me a mini?" And if they say, "I don't do minis," she talks them into it. So you'll see everything from nests to Christmas angels to a sewing basket, everything you can think of, a cradle,
Mm-hmm.
everything you can think of. And one of the most difficult things to do with lightship baskets is miniatures. And the second most difficult thing to do is to make a nest,
Right,
a set of baskets that all fit together.
right, right. Across from us is another collection. This is a nest, this case over here with incredible scrimshaw made by Michael Caine. So talk about this. This is unbelievable.
This is a nest of 12 baskets, and a nest means they all fit together perfectly.
Mhm.
And each one tells a story. Every basket tells a story, but these stories are all about Nantucket. This nest is called the Essence of Nantucket. So each basket has a theme. Everything from whaling to sconset to the fish of the island to the flowers of the island It's just almost everything that you can think of. Shorebirds, berries, flowers, everything. And even the history of the town.
So who's the makers? Tell us about the two makers
The
here.
maker is Michael Kane, and all of the scrimshaw was done by Dorothy O'Hare.
Okay. And what do you think? 5 years to make this?
I think they claim it took 2 years, but I think that's all they did for 2 years.
Yeah. So now we are in what's called the workshop, and this is Eleanor. So Eleanor, why don't you tell us about what all of this is in here?
Well, we have people coming through the museum. We like to highlight what our mission is, and that is to teach the youth of Nantucket how to weave. We have created this workstation. Over here, next to Mary, are baskets that we use for demonstration purposes, initially showing them how to attach a rim and what a rim is, and secondly, how to put staves in, which is actually called the skeleton of our basket. We will have 3 weavers a day here, 5 days a week, so that anybody can come in.
So thank you, Eleanor. This is amazing. So this is not to be missed. If you've never made a basket, you want to give it a try, come on up and weave a few rows and check it out. It's very addictive, so be careful.